Hello, everybody. Welcome to the latest episode of FPL Affairs, the podcast that discusses our 9 month long love affair with FPL, including the ins and outs that keep us awake at night. In our Gameweek 33 preview video, we will start by looking at some free hit draft if you are considering that chip this week, my transfer plans and team selection, and whether or not I intend on using a chip. Let's get cracking.
And there's Mo Salah. There goes Haaland. He's on his way again. He's hungry. He scored. Ice cold precision from Palmer. Kayo Saka. That is a diamond of a goal.
Greetings, viewers. It's me, Matt, aka the FPL Affairs veteran idiot, or one of them anyway, bringing you the Gameweek 33 transfer plans and team selection video. Shall we get started? Before we get started with this week's transfer plans, after last night's Newcastle delightful 5-0 win over Palace, wanted a quick look at my final Gameweek 32 points and rank. So the Gameweek 32 final review, showing my team finished up on 101 points, breaking the three figures for the second time this season. Not enough. Anyway, Martinez in goal, which, as I said in the review video about my debate between him and Raya, was 6 points. Trippier, glad I made the right call mostly over the Newcastle defenders, going with Trippier, 12 points, whereas Livramento, I think, got 8. Burn got less than that. Slightly disappointed I didn't go for Share. Anyway, Bradley being a great shout. Thank you, Jack, the FPL Affairs master, for encouraging me to go through with that transfer decision. Is 9-pointer. Munoz with an embarrassing -1 from a double game week is painful. Salah spoke about. Sarr only adding the 2 appearance points last night, giving him a total of 7. Jacob Murphy, another majestic performance. We are not worthy, sir. Increasing his game week total up to 19. Savinho, again, 1 point still. Marmoush's goal, 7. Isak, very disappointed for a triple captain. Really, he got 11 triple to 33. It was frustrating in many ways because across both fixtures, he got in the right positions to score. But unfortunately, the goal scorers decided to score and shoot instead of passing, so he could knock it into an empty net. Last night, he did get a few more chances. Henderson getting 2 quality saves. I was really sad for him, actually, for the own goal, because Barnes put in a cross that was spot on, lined up for Isak, and then Mark Gallagher's arm got in the way and diverted it into his own goal. From an FPL point of view, I was kind of hoping, well, could the ref just give it as a handball and a penalty, and then Isak will get a penalty and score the penalty and he'll get a goal. But anyway, I'm delighted as a Newcastle fan with a 5-0 win. And Mateta, another substitution before the hour mark. So 3 Palace players, Palace triple up, really fell into the trap of double game week. Let's get 3 players from those teams. And even though they had horrible fixtures, still got 3. Munoz gets a -1, Sarr with 7, Mateta with 2. And those that decided to go with Eze as opposed to Sarr, or maybe Munoz, not much better. And I've got to say that penalty was, even as a Newcastle fan, that was painful to watch. And hats off to Pope owners who got the penalty saves. Again, well done, FPL Affairs Jack, who's got Pope in goal. The eye balance between Pope and Eze, and then Pope dummying to one side. So then Eze shot to the opposite side, but because Pope dummied, it was an easy drop down to the floor and hold on to it. And there was just no power in the shot. If you haven't seen it, I'm not even sure whether it's worthwhile seeing, unless you are not a Palace fan. You might just find it ridiculous. So those points totaled up 101 points, which moves me up significantly. My safety score was 79, so 22 points above my safety score. My total now stands at 2,119 points, 11 points on the bench, 7 of those from Conta, which, to be fair, out of the decision-making process, as I explained the other day, I ended up having Bradley rather than an Aston Villa double up, so 2 points better off with that. My old rank was 305k in the world. I'm now up to 192k, which is a change of 37%. And my game week rank was 160,543rd in the world. So yeah, I've had a really good couple of weeks, which has shot me right up the rankings to a degree. And I've got my fingers and toes crossed that that can continue next week in game week 33. Right. Okay. Let's get moving on to the transfer plans and team selection, as well as free hit 33 draft. 33 transfer plans and team selection. As you'll notice on the thumbnails, I've got chip, question mark. Who's planning to use a chip? Will I use a chip? Or any of the other admin members using a chip? I don't know. They haven't told me yet, which is really infuriating from one or two of them. But anyway, doubling this week is Aston Villa and Manchester City. Face off after their fixture's been moved from game week 34 due to the FA Cup semi-finals, and Arsenal Crystal Palace has been moved forward into double game week 33 because of the clash with Crystal Palace's appearance in the FA Cup semi-finals. If you plan to use your free hit in double game week 33, the admin team has done a draft and I've done a draft. So shall we compare and see similarities with those, which teams to target? And if you look at your own team, how do they compare? Maybe I'll give you some transfer ideas. Anyway, let's have a look. You've got Brentford, Brighton, Crystal Palace, Bournemouth, Everton, Man City, West Ham, Southampton, Aston Villa, Newcastle, Fulham, Chelsea, Ipswich, Arsenal, Manchester United, Wolves, Leicester, Liverpool, Tottenham Forest, and those rescheduled Manchester City versus Aston Villa and Arsenal versus Crystal Palace. So myself and the admin team, we've been racking our brains and pulling our hair out and having tantrums, who is right and who is not right, to come up with two drafts for game week 33. So my one in particular, because I was feeling stubborn, I've got Raya in goal with Areola, single game week, although he's at home to Southampton. On the bench, my defence, I've gone with Gvardiol, Kivior, and Munoz. I went with Kivior because he's slightly cheaper, and Saliba, and from recent fixtures, he looks nailed at the heart of the defence. So it enabled funds to be utilised elsewhere. In midfield, I've got Mo Salah away to Leicester. He may be on a bit of dodgy form, but he's away to Leicester, who have lost 8 home games in a row without scoring. Alongside Salah, I've got Eze of Crystal Palace, Saka of Arsenal, Kevin De Bruyne, bit of a differential pick and risque because of his minutes, and also Morgan Rogers, who seems to be the only Aston Villa midfielder that is actually pretty much guaranteed to start and rotation exempt. Up front, I'm starting with Marmoush, who's my captain, and Mateta with on the bench Wissa of Brentford, single game week, but he's at home to Brighton. Also on the bench, I have got Bradley of Liverpool, got me personally a 9-pointer in the last game week, and cheapest way into the Liverpool defence. Alongside him, I have put Konza of Aston Villa, fresh off his goal in Europe. Comparing that to the rest of the admin's team, they've gone for Martinez and Alisson in goal. Back three starting of Saliba, Munoz, and Gvardiol. On the bench, they have got Bradley as well, and they've also gone West Ham's Wan-Bissaka of Southampton, with Southampton away. Midfield in a 3-4-3 formation, Saka, Eze, Declan Rice differential, and Marlon after his performance and goal scored for Villa away to Southampton at the weekend, and a front three of Watkins captain, Marmoush, and Mateta. On the bench, they've gone for West Ham double up with Ward-Prowse. So looking really, comparing the teams, is both got a doubling goalkeeper, Raya versus Martinez. On the bench is backup goalkeeper with a good fixture against one of the bottom 3 teams. Starting defences, an Arsenal defender plus Gvardiol and Munoz. They're in both. Main difference, Kivior versus Saliba. Saliba more template pick. Kivior more differential, but a lot cheaper. Midfield, both have Saka, both have Eze. Risque one is the admin draft has gone without Salah, which, despite the form, as I've said, he's away to Leicester. Rice, very differential. I'm not quite so keen on that one because it was 2 free kicks in the Champions League. Rest of it's not sensational. Whereas my choice of Kevin De Bruyne really looked back to himself, his old self, against Crystal Palace at the weekend, an assist, a goal, and he said when spoken to that it was the first game in a long time he's actually felt pain-free. So hopefully he'll bring his old self again in his 2 fixtures in game week 33. Watkins captaincy versus Marmoush captaincy, that will be interesting. Personally, I went for Marmoush. One, because I decided against having Watkins in, largely because of his fixtures, Newcastle at home and Man City away. If your squad at the moment is looking similar to those, or at least in terms of triple Palace, double or triple Arsenal, double or triple Man City, same with Villa, then some people are bench boosting instead this week. Some people triple captain on Saka or Marmoush, which are the most popular choices. But if your squad is drastically different to this one and you can get out 11 players, then consider game week 34 the blank. So there are the 2 drafts. How do they compare to yours? Let us know in the comments below, and please like and subscribe the video and our channel at FPL Affairs. That would be very much appreciated, and it will keep you up to date with any more idiots guides that we plan over the coming weeks. Anyway, I've changed the structure of the transfers ins and outs, because normally it always seemed to be Jack waffling along about who he was thinking of bringing in and always ended up rolling if he could and trying to persuade me to roll if I could, of which most of the time I ignored him, and it hasn't entirely helped, although it did last week. So the difference in structure is, in consultation with him and with them, we've come up with a top 3 shortlist, position by position, of who you could bring in this week and who you may consider removing from your squad. Anyway, let's start with the ins. So goalkeepers, we've got down David Raya because of his double, Alisson with his home fixture, not home fixture, away fixture, but it's to Leicester, and they've got 8 consecutive blanks of scoring at home, which isn't the greatest record you'd like to keep. We've also put in the 3rd choice keeper to take into account and consider is Areola of West Ham, because he is facing off against Southampton, so chances for a clean sheet there, and a good choice for 2nd goalkeeper for a bench boost. In defence, Saliba's the template pick, but you could also have alternative Arsenal assets. Spoiler alert, I'm thinking of Kivior, because since Gabriel's injured, it looks like he's nailed alongside Saliba because he's a left-footed centre-back, and like Newcastle's Eddie Howe, Arteta likes to have a left-footed, left-sided centre-back. Alongside him in 2nd choice is Gvardiol with Man City's double this week, and in 3rd, Connor Bradley of Liverpool playing away to Leicester. I brought him in last week for last week's game, got 9 points, and fingers crossed he could do something similar against Leicester. Midfield, 1st choice is a debatable differential option. I put down Kevin De Bruyne. For me, just a bit more excitement, really, rather than trying to stick with a boring option or template option of getting double Palace midfielders or double Aston Villa midfielders. Just that, if he can bring that De Bruyne of old to his fixtures, then it'll be a wonderful choice, whether you're free hitting or transfer in. Mostly free hitting, though. Saka in 2nd choice. If you're not going to sell Salah, which even if you're not going to, you don't need to do it for money. And Saka's not going to carry on getting 25 to 30 minutes each game. He is going to start starting in the league soon. 3rd choice I've put as Eberechi Eze. He's been the Palace midfielder on the most returns of late, and despite having a tough double, he's capable of returning in any of those fixtures. And up front, top 3 picks. In 1st, Marmoush, alongside Saka for us, the 2 shout-outs for captaincy this week. Mateta, this was a debate coming in 2nd choice because of him being substituted at half-time at the weekend, but there's really a shortage of nailed options, particularly for double teams going into Game Week 33. And the 3rd and final option, Ollie Watkins, of Aston Villa with his 2 doubles, and their home fixture is, albeit tough, against Newcastle. I'm going to try and be impartial. Aston Villa's home record this season has been really, really strong. So it's going to be a tough game for us and a tough game for Isak. But Isak's proved against the best defences in the league that he can score. So it's why I really haven't recommended any Villa defenders or goalkeepers, but they're the likes of, if you've got doubling players in that are fit, don't get rid of them. Just keep them. Don't do sideways moves. Which takes us through onto the outs, really. The outs being, we could only think of 2, really, for goalkeeper, Jordan Pickford. And I'm not saying this just because he's from Sunderland and a Sunderland fan and an ex-Sunderland player, but yeah, Everton's fixtures are one of the worst in the league. So I'd consider removing him in place of the ones mentioned on the previous slide. And as well as that, despite some good data earlier in the season for Nottingham Forest defensively, they're shaky at the moment. And if I heard correctly and remember correctly, over the last 10 game weeks, there's something around 15th or 16th with some of the defensive statistics. So that's not promising. Defensive outs, Forest Aina, however you pronounce it. Apologies if I've said it incorrectly. Down to his injury and availability. Gabriel, due to his injury and availability. And Trent Alexander-Arnold, because of his question marks on availability. And even if he does come back, there have been murmurs of game week 35 even. What's to say that if he's going to go to Madrid, they don't just stick with Bradley. Outs, Kluivert, the uncertainty of his availability. Cole Palmer, game week 33 and a double would be an out, and then to possibly, for me, free him in for 34 because of the fixture. For longer term, Chelsea, like Everton, have got some horrible, horrible fixtures coming up. And finally, Mbeumo, simply to create some space for doublers in 33. But I'm not going to say that necessarily for long term because Brentford do finish with big fixtures. So he may be one to keep an eye out for in 35 onwards. And finally up front, Chris Wood with Forest's form. Now they performed against Everton, a bit risky, and with other fixtures for other clubs coming up, notably Wolves. They've got some, as I said, and Mbeumo will be one, and Vissa actually, to come back to in the last few games of the week. But for 33, there are much better options than Chris Wood. Isak is question mark. Some people are getting rid of him to bring in Watkins. Personally, I wouldn't, because Watkins, question mark of minutes, and Isak can, if he's fit, he starts and he can score against anybody, regardless how good their defense is, whether that home or away. And the third and final choice to get rid of is Erling Haaland. Again, with the uncertainty of when he's going to be back, Marmoush is going to be basically nailed for minutes whilst Erling Haaland's out. And even when he comes back, what's to say he'll go straight back in. So that's a quick skim over who we, as an admin team, suggest on removing for your teams to accommodate those that we said to get in. So that's a collective. Now moving on to Fantasy Football Hub's bus team for me, without any changes, is it recommends I go with Raya in goal, Gvardiol, Munoz, Konsa and Bradley in a back 4, midfield 3 of Sarr, Saka and Salah, and a front 3 of Marmoush, Mateta and Isak, with the captaincy on Marmoush. That leaves a bench of Martinez, Savinho, Jacob Murphy and Kieran Trippier. For those of you that can see the screen and are watching on YouTube, I have got my bench boost chip image up because as it stands, it's currently active. However, with the game week 36 and 37 clouds, which we won't find out until after the semi-finals in 34, I am considering and looking at that bench, actually saving transfers, following Jet's advice, rolling when I can, keeping the Newcastle players, saving the transfers for later on, and actually potentially bench boosting in game week 36. The main thing I'm umming and ahhing about this week is whether to stick with the bench boost and use transfers on either one of Murphy and Trippier or both of them. Trippier replacements, I would probably be looking at, as I said in recommended transfers in, I'd be considering Kivior of Arsenal rather than Saliba, partly for funds and also to avoid the template. Murphy, again, if I bench boost replacement, boring template one would be with Rodgers of Aston Villa because he's the nailed option for Villa. I've got double Villa defence, which to a degree I regret. getting Conser in when I did. But hey ho, we learn. Captaincy wise, I'd agree with Marmoush. So in the final countdown, it'll probably be right up until deadline on Saturday morning. Will be whether I do hold the bench boost and keep it active, or whether I deactivate it and save it and hold Murphy and Trippier. Right. Unfortunately, as I make the slides, I can't guess at what Fantasy Football Hub's recommended transfer is because I've already seen it. Thankfully, my words, or not words, my thoughts are on similar lines. It has recommended I remove Trippier and in favour of template Saliba rather than my thoughts of Kiwior. But it's also recommended not removing Murphy, which surprised me. It's recommended I remove doubling Savinho, but replacing him with Morgan Rogers, which is what I suspected and what I will do if I do go with template alternatives. For Rogers, could go Rashford because in the performance, their win against PSG, he was rampant in that. Again, it's a question mark as to whether he'll start one or the other or neither in the double. So for me, lots to ponder. Let us know what you intend on doing for Game Week 33. Are you bench boosting like me? Did you bench boost in Game Week 32? In which case, if you did, are you using triple captain on Marmoush or Saka or somebody else this week? Or are you just playing without a chip in Game Week 33? Final thoughts, actually, which I haven't covered, is the assistant manager chip. Main suggestion would be switching to Arteta for this rather than going Glasner if you're chasing, though. But it could be too risky. Arteta would be the safe bet, particularly if you've done Glasner for the first 2 weeks of Game Week 31 and 32, if that's when you had it active. If this video's helped, then please like and subscribe, clicking the thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. It really helps us out and trying to get us out there more than we currently are. X.com, find us with @FPL Affairs. Fantasy Premier League FPL 1 is the link to our Facebook group, but you can also search as FPL Affairs. That's the name of the group now. Our YouTube channel @FPL Affairs, and the Spotify link down below and in the description. All I think that's left to say, and to round off with the video, is keep your FPL affairs under wraps until the deadline, and then plaster them all over your walls, all over social media, and if you are that bonkers, make it your profile picture. But good luck, everybody. Take care, and let's hope for some green arrows. Till next week, playing Game Week 34. Oh my word, what will I do?